So, hello everyone. How are you doing? This is Commissioner Alana Sanders, and we are live today in Let's Talk Newton. I was mute earlier, but we're going to make sure we get this correct. So, today we have a special guest. I'm glad you all are tuned in with me today as we talk about the great things that are coming into Newton County. So, I have this awesome man with us who is going to share the things he's going to bring to Newton County. But let me tell you just a little bit about his background. I can't give it all because he'll probably be here all day, but I'm excited to have him on. We have none other than Orson Charles, who attended Riverside High School before transferring to Henry B. Plant High School. Now, you know, all this I got from Wikipedia, so he's all over. Just Google him, you can find all this information. He is also a well-renowned football player with the University of Georgia, and many of you in Newton always going around and talk about UGA, as well as let me give you a little bit of his NFL history. The Cincinnati Bengals, Tennessee Titans, New Orleans Saints, Detroit Lions, Kansas City Chiefs, Cleveland Browns, Denver Broncos, and none other than the philanthropy work that he's doing for our youth that he's going to bring here in Newton County. I'm excited about what's about to happen in Newton, and I am going to bring him on with me today. How are you, Mr. Orson Charles?
Commissioner, I'm well. Thank you.
I had all the facts. I have the facts. How are you?
I'm well. Definitely thank you for having me on. You did a wonderful job with that intro.
Oh, just invite me every time I introduce you. I'll be introducing
you. I got you.
So how is it going with you?
It's going well. Just spending my days just really profounding my nonprofit and making sure we get on board with the locker room event that's coming up in March 16th in Newton County. So definitely excited about that. And then also, you know, I have a couple of projects on hand and some invoices that I had to do for my customers because I'm a residential building developer as well. So the day's been busy.
So we're going to get into that because here in Newton County, as you've heard me say before, and you had an opportunity to come out to see Newton County. You had the opportunity to meet the Parks and Rec director, talk about football, life, and so forth. And I'm known to do a lot of events for the women here in Newton County and the young ladies. And so I've been asked so many times, like, what can I do for the young men? Now, I'm the only female on the board. The rest, everybody else is men. So I just waited and thinking that somebody was going to do something, but hey, when God tells you to do something, you have to move forward. And that's when I met you and we talked about the various things. So we know football I'm pretty sure still is a part of your career. And a lot of young men in Newton County want to become NFL players. They want to become pro ball players. Before we get into the locker room event, tell me your experience and how important is education and how to balance football as well.
So to answer your question, and thank you for the question, great question. So education is tremendously important, just as important as playing ball, just as important as anything. And how it was so important, how it applied to my life is when I got drafted by Cincinnati Bengals in 2012, I ended up leaving Georgia early. So I only played 3 years. Oh, wow. And the decision that I made was, hey, I told my mom and I had Tony Dungy, I was consulting with him and I was like, hey, what should I do? So when we did decide that I was going to leave early and go into the draft, I made a promise to myself, my mom, and my pastor, hey, I promise I'm going to come back and get my degree. Because one thing is for sure is that that's a paper that they can never take away from you, and it's proof that you went to the university and did what you were supposed to do and took advantage of the opportunity. If they're paying for your college, why not take advantage of it? So I ended up, it took me longer than expected because after every season, I would actually go into the classroom. So we'll have our last season. We only made it in the first round of playoff, and then I would drive. I'll pack my truck up, and I would drive to Athens, and I'll be in class 2 days later. Oh, so then wow. I would make up my semesters that way. So I ended up finally graduating in 2016. And when I tell you, that was probably one of the biggest accomplishments because I came from a single parent mother, and you know how the statistics are stacked against you. Oh, well, you're not going to be this, you can't do that. So my mom and my brother, we all stuck together and we was like, you know what, we're going to beat the odds, not be a statistic, and become something of ourselves. So that was the way for us to do it. go back and get your degree, and then yes, we can have fun on the football field.
That's awesome. I love how you said that you, during your off time, you went back and education was a part of your goal that you want to achieve. It wasn't just football. Football was just one entity or one segment of your life, but you want to make sure you got the degree. So that's the most important thing. So to say that and to have young men and women hear this, that education is so important versus that professional career, which is great. That's wonderful. It got you where you need to be, but the education is that paper that can't take away from you. So now you're in the NFL. You're doing all these things. You play for major teams, even my number one team, New Orleans Saints.
Who that? Who that?
I know some of my New County residents probably want to hit me right now, but hey, I'm Louisiana born and bred. And so you played for the New Orleans Saints. You played for Cleveland. You played for all these other teams. And so now I was watching one of your videos where you say you don't like to say you're retired. I saw that. And so now you have I don't want to say retired. What word would you use instead of saying retired?
Pivoting.
Okay. So now you're pivoting to a new career into life, to something else.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you go from NFL player, pro ball player, playing for all these major teams to now transitioning to where you are? You could speak on where you are, because that's the main thing. A lot of our men, especially with this being Black History Month, a lot of our African-American males go to the league. And then once football is over, or they may get hurt or something, they're lost. They have nothing after football. So can you just expound on how important was it for you to have something after the game?
So let me break it down for a lot of people that don't really know what NFL stands for. It stands for not for long. So if you go in knowing that you're not going to stay long, you have to come up, and I wouldn't say a plan B, but you have to come up with an alternative. What's my passion? What do I enjoy doing? Now, I would say this because I consult and I talk to a lot of my boys. That transition is very hard. So it really matters your support system you have around you, and then really taking the time to soak in, what did you do? You just became the 1% club. You've been doing something your whole life, and now all of a sudden you got to figure out life. You got to get into the real world. That's very hard. So all my guys that want to play football, I say go into it knowing that you have something not to fall back on, but you have something that's going to give you equal amount of that joy. And for me, it was building houses and then giving back to my community. And the reason why I say giving back to my community, because it was the brothers in my church that poured into me, because they knew that my mom was a single parent raising 2 kids, that came to my game, that took time out of their family and their schedule to come support me. I was like, look, y'all did that to me. It's only right that I go back and do it to somebody else. And then we also always know that we're here to serve. Once you find out that it's not about you and you go be a servant, then all your worries and problems go away and it's just minute. So that's how I transitioned into it. When I got out, it was more of, okay, who am I? What am I called to do? What am I going to do? But then it was my support system that I said. So I would definitely educate all the guys to, tap into your support system now, and don't wait until ball is done. Be proactive and do it now, because you never know when it's your last time on earth or when it's going to be your last down.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. I'm glad you spoke on it. That is awesome. And let's talk about being a builder. So you went from playing the game to building, as you just said, that you wanted to build and you wanted to give back to your community. So explain to these young men the path you took becoming a builder, and what did you have to do? Because that's the whole, you pivot. You did a 360. You went full circle. So now tell us how you went from NFL to now you're a builder.
So it really started when I was younger. So I go back to, being a single mom. My mom always gave me everything that I needed. But if I wanted anything like a pair of Jordan or a cell phone, she said, hey, you go get that. So I was working since I was 12. And it just so happened that my uncle owned a construction company, and it was in a masonry. So I was like, you know what? I'll go out there. I'll do it. He was paying me $12 an hour at the age of 12. And that was great money. So I was like, yeah, why not? And I didn't know that I was going to fall in love with it until we started doing multiple houses. So we'll get there at 5 o'clock and it's just pitch dark. We'll start prepping for the day. And then at the end of the day, around 6, 7 o'clock, it's a full house. And I was like, you know what? I really enjoy that. I can pass by and say, you know what? I contribute to building that house. So as I got older, and some summers ago, I would go to him. I was like, you know what? Maybe this is what I want to go to school for. So I ended up going to school for it, and I learned more about the back end stuff. So I was like, okay, I really like it. When I get done playing ball or out of college, I want to go in and learn from somebody. So that was me humbling myself, knowing that, hey, I'm going to step into another area that I don't know. I need to seek a mentor and humble myself and accept a pay, even if it's way lower than what I would get, because you know how the pay scale is from NFL to a real job. So I did that, and I started early. I didn't wait until I was done. I got my first investment property when it was 2017. Bought my mom a house and did that, and then I got another house in Georgia, and then I just started fixing it up. But then along the way, I had a mentor that said, "Hey, like I've been in this game for 25 years. You got a great head on your shoulder. I want you not to go through all the mistakes I went through." When I was your age, there was nobody that was teaching me the ropes. They was keeping it to themselves. I don't want you to do that. So once again, it's men's in my life that's paving the way, and this is the same thing that I want to do for other men. So tying that into my purpose, eventually, and then I haven't told you about this, but eventually I want to build an academy where I'm teaching these young men trades. So I have a trade school because I want to show you how you don't have to be an actor or in the entertainment business or even an athlete to make 100, to make 150, to make 200. Get into a trade and go ahead and run your business if you want to be an entrepreneur, or pick up a skill where it can give you and generate that money so you can be self-sufficient and support your family.
That is awesome, Orson. And that's how we connected. You and I met last year at an event that I was going for a friend, and we all connected and we started talking. You had some other friends that were formerly in the league as well, that's doing some things you're doing. And I was so amazed by the things that you all are doing. Why I wanted you to come to Newton County, because you don't hear the stories of pro athletes doing something great. I mean, you hear it, it's out there, but it's not showcases. I mean, let me reword that. It's happening in the community, but it's not showcased. To see our men, especially our Black men, that are doing amazing things from athletics, because the first thing they teach them when they go into when they're in school and they're good in football, make sure you get to the NFL. Make sure you get to the NFL. That's the first thing that parents or family members instill in the mind, because the only thing they see is NFL. That's it. They don't see beyond. So I'm thankful that you're actually doing that. Now, you spoke on mentorship and mentoring young men, and you mentioned that you came from a single family home, a single mother, beautiful mother, who I thought was your sister. Geez, I'm very well in your family. And so you come from a single family home where your mother was the dominant person in the household, who mentored you, who encouraged you to be who you can be. And so expound on that piece, on how you overcame that and being raised by a single mother.
So everybody had their stories, and I look back and I can kind of see what everybody's saying. But to be honest, I love my childhood. I love what my mom did. Like I didn't know that we was in a lower class until we got older, but there was never a moment where there was no food on the table. There was never a moment where I didn't have any clothes on my back. There was never a moment where I wasn't able to go play football. So I played football, ran track, played basketball. There was never a moment that I wasn't able to do that. And my mom's like, she's resilient. Like she worked 2 jobs, and while and a beautiful thing, and we're so competitors. While I was finishing high school and graduating, she was going back to school to finish her college degree. So we was competing on who would get the highest GPA, and it's just little stuff like that. Yeah. So it's just little stuff like that. So when I look back at my childhood, like, it was beautiful. Like, it was really beautiful. It was filled with love. My mom told me she loved me. She hugged me. She allowed us to go outside and play. We had to make sure we was inside at a certain hour. and we went to church on Sundays and Wednesdays, and I was filled with love with the brothers in the church. So I loved it. I loved it. My mom did a wonderful job.
All right. Kudos to the single mothers that are out there raising Black men and doing an amazing job, raising men, period, and doing a great job. I really appreciate that. So we're going to get into the locker room event we're going to have here in Newton. So for those who don't know, Orson is bringing the locker room for our young men here in Newton County. It's going to be on March 16th at Turner Lake from 8:30. I want to say to 3:30. Forgive me on the time, but you can find it on my website as well. And he's bringing his friends, his colleagues to come in to mentor these young men. And you want to make sure that you are registered for this event because they're bringing their time, as well as Lululemon is coming to sponsor as well. So let's get to the mentorship piece of it. What made you want to give back to men? Although you are a man, what made you want to give back to young men? What was your inspiration behind it?
Because I knew that it was lacking. Every time I go somewhere, I hear, oh, these young men can't do this, or they're not qualified, or they're acting up, or they're getting arrested, or they're on the street selling dope, when really they're doing that so they can provide food for their family. And I'm like, no, let's sit here and figure out what's the issue. Because I'm a problem solver. You gotta be quick on your feet. You gotta solve problems in the construction world. So I'm like, all right, let's really sit down and figure out, okay, we hear all the problems. You're constantly going to have problems. What's the solution? How can we create a solution to all these problems we keep hearing? And then when I really sat down and I was in my quiet time with my father, I was like, well, what did I want? What did I have? What did I needed when I was their age? And then I started thinking about, mentorship, creating a space where you can be heard, seen, and valued, building a relationship, spending time. So I was like, all right, well, let me go ahead and, gather up a lot of my former players that think the same thing I do, that doesn't mind volunteering their time, their experience, and their wisdom with these young kids to make sure that they have a better future, because we understand that they are the future. But if nobody sit down and take some time with them, it's going to be a repeated cycle. It's sanity. How can we say, oh, we need to change this, but not change anything or do anything different? So instead of me waiting on somebody to do it, when you said, hey, we need to do something for the man, okay, let's do it. Like, I may not have everything all figured out, but I know my father got me covered, so we're going to do it. And then we're going to continue to keep doing it so they understand and know I'm not a one-hit wonder. I really care about you. I really need you to understand that you are worthy. You are created to leave a legacy, and you are here to be important and to mentor the rest. So I mentor you, you pave it away, and mentor the other kids, because you'll be able to touch people I won't be able to.
That's awesome, Orson. I really appreciate that. And the mentor part is so important because some of our young men have made mistakes, have done things, and people sometimes will try to write them off from the one mistake they made. You have people who are in high offices and high positions and commit the most heinous crimes. But you make that one mistake, someone would try to wash your whole entire positive image away. And I kind of conversed about this to where once I put out this locker room event and I talked about it, I mean, no one was complaining. It was like excited that you're coming, excited that you're bringing some of your colleagues, some of your athlete friends, as well as some CEOs of major corporations that are coming into Newton County. It always takes that one seed, that one bad apple that always try to spoil the bunch or try to spoil what is happening. And you have made a mistake in your life, or it might not have been a mistake because I don't even know what the whole verdict was. I wasn't there, so I will not judge you. I mean, cast the first stone. That's what I say. Cast the first stone. And so I will not judge you, but I see where your life is right now. I see where you're going now. And I've always said, now, if you was in your 50s doing the same thing over and over, then I got a problem with you. I got a problem with you. If you 40 something and 50 and you still doing crazy stuff, I have a problem with you. But if you made a mistake and you move past that mistake and you're sowing a seed into lives of others and doing positive things in the community, that means that God has a hand on you, and whatever you went through is a testimony for you to share with others on how to get through that situation. And I don't know if you want to share those things. I'm gonna go about. When I put this event out, there was one seed And I'm gonna say there was one seed that always, every time I do something, that one little bad weed, and that's not a seed, it's a weed, that always comes and try to spoil the situation, not thinking that this is for our young men, our youth, our kids. And I always say children are off limits. You can come for me, but kids are off limits. People who are doing positive things in the community is off limits. So this individual tried to state the character, try to tear down the character of Mr. Charles, which we say Orson the Prince Charles, tear down the character. And I appreciate you on how loyal you are to not only to the Heavenly Father, but how loyal you are and committed to what you're doing. And if you would like to speak on that, if not, you don't have to, because you don't owe anybody anything. You don't owe them, because you are moving forward and you are touched by the hand of God. So I'm gonna give you this opportunity if you do want to speak on that. But the main thing is showing our young men who did go through certain situations how they can get out of it and how they move on to the next level and not worry about the naysayers who are putting those bad weeds. Because when you're growing something, what kills something that grows? A weed, a bad weed. If you want to speak on that, I'll give you this opportunity.
Well, definitely, thank you. So I always looked at it as if you didn't have any haters or somebody talking about you, you're not doing anything. So that's how I always looked at it. And then I always go back because I'm always in my Bible and I'm always stretching myself to learn. The 12 people that God had follow him, they were murderers. Like they all had something, and he still chose them. So if our Heavenly Father had murderers and all those people with him, why would I let somebody judge me and stop me from what I'm called and my assignment to do? So once I understand that it's way bigger than me, then you continue to keep pressing forward. And then on top of that, I know that what I went through, it was not for me, but for somebody else. So I went through it because I know that, and I didn't go through it voluntarily, but I went through it knowing that, hey, some other kid's going to have to hear my story, and that's going to give him hope. And the moment that gave him hope, I've done my job. I can go on to the next. I'm taking a step so I can have the kids take the elevator. These days, let's say the kids may be a little bit more sensitive or may not be able to go through what we went through. And now it just looks different. So I don't hide behind my trials, my testimonies, my mishap. I grow through it. And then I use that story to help other people. So there's 3 incidents that I go, and every incident I look back and I'm like, you know what? I grew stronger, wiser from every incident. And then now it's like, okay, I can reach this person because I've done that. I can reach this person because I've done that. I can reach this person. Hey, I know where you are. You don't have to continue to keep going down that path. So when I was getting drafted in 2012, I didn't smoke, I didn't drink, I didn't party. Like I was real focused. Like I came here to get my degree and go to the NFL and figure out life. And I declared for the draft and I started working out. And then I started having some great private workout with a lot of teams. So I had just turned 21, and this is not like I never drank before. So I ended up going downtown, celebrating with my guys. Now, mind you, the people I'm celebrating with, they're my class. So they're like, hey, Orson, we're proud of you. We're happy for you. Drinks on me, this, that, and the third. So I ended up, taking a few too many drinks, and then the night end. And I was more of the sober one. Everybody was looking at me to take them home. And I'm like, I'm not going to let my boy, be stranded downtown. So I go take him home. And when I was taking one of my guys home, he didn't know where, he was either drunk or didn't know where to go. So I kind of stopped, and there was a police officer at Waffle House on the right. And he comes and pulls me over and says, hey, like, I smell alcohol, come take a breathalyzer. So I'm calling Gant. And he's our player guy, our player rep at Georgia. And he was like, hey, oh, you good? Just take the breathalyzer and this, that, and the third. So I take it and then I pass it. And then he was like, you know what? I still got to take you in. So I'm going, he takes me in, making sure all my people was good. They got a ride home and they'll take the car. So I'm going and I'm like, hey, sir, like, look, I apologize. Like, this was the first time I drank. I can go home. It's not going to happen again. I got a draft coming up. And mind you, why this is so important, because I was in 28 interviews with 28 different teams.
Oh,
And I told them,
wow.
hey, I don't drink, I don't smoke, that and the third. And I was projected to go late first round. So I'm telling him all this, and I was like, hey, like, you know, my future's on the line, like my family's waiting on this, like, please let me go. And the cop said, hey, don't worry about it. I know who you are. You'll be fine. And I'm like, ah. So we get to the police station, we take a breathalyzer, and the legal limit is 0.08. I blew a 0.09. And he said that he still had to take me in. So when I tell you that that was one of the lowest moments of my life, not because I lost millions of dollars, it's because I forgot who I was representing. I was representing my mother that came over from Dominica. I was representing my mother that was a single parent that sold everything into us. I was representing my family that's from the island, Dominica, and my dad's side from Nigeria. I was representing them, and I forgot with that little moment. So when it hit ESPN and it blasted all over the place, I got a phone call from my mom crying, saying that, hey, you know, what happened? Why'd you do this? You know, I feel like a failure. I had to leave work because everybody's talking about it. And then I just broke down. Then my grandma called and was like, oh, I can't believe this. Like, what's going on? Why did you do this? How could you do this, that, and the third? And then what really hit me was when my brother called and I had to explain to him, hey, do not follow my footsteps. I made a mistake. And when I was going through it, I was supposed to go back to Miami to train. I had to go back home, and I needed counsel. And there goes that discipleship, me getting counsel from my pastor. And he said, "Hey, Ruben, we all make mistakes. Don't let this deteriorate you. Just know that you're going to have to work that much harder to get to where you need to go, and learn from this mistake." So that was the first incident, and I grew so much from there, to the point where I can talk to guys that's struggling with alcoholism. I can talk to guys that's struggling with weed. I don't smoke. I don't drink, because I've learned from that situation. And then there was another situation that ended up being a lie. It was a road rage situation. I was going back to Cincinnati from Georgia because I was in school, and the guy, you know, behind me telling me this, that, and the third. And then we pull over, and he said, he called the cops, and was like, the guy pointed a gun at me. And in my mind, I'm like, I did not point a gun at you. If I point a gun, I would have took it to the next step. So the cop arrested me because he said that he felt threatened, when it was me and my girlfriend at the time said that we did not do this. So I go to the court. I go to jail. We do all this, that, and the third, and then we get to our first trial, and the police officer comes in, and it was like, Orson, I would like to say, for whatever it's worth, I apologize for arresting you, and while we're here, if we would have did a background check on him, you would not have been here. And I'm like, I looked at my lawyer, and I was like, what? Like, why did what? I was so confused. And he said the reason why is because we looked at his rap sheet, and he had road rage, he had domestic violence, and he had all of that. So that's when I realized, oh, you really have to be careful, because somebody can just say something and they'll take their word over you because of my color. And that hurt me to the point where I was out of the league for a year, because I had to show everybody I wasn't a problem child. I had to show everybody who my character is. And I really had to show them that, hey, like, I just made one or two couple mistakes. That's not who I am. So I trained for the whole year, and I was going hard. I was going 2 days. And then after, I was a property management for a company. And I still believed, I still had faith. I was still, praying. And then I ended up getting picked up by New Orleans. And
See? And you know what? You don't even have to say anymore. I was waiting for that. You don't even have to say anymore. And you have shown you've done the due diligence.
Mm-hmm.
You were accountable. You were
Mm-hmm.
accountable for your actions. You said, I made a mistake. And then you
Mm-hmm.
trained hard to get back where you need to be. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I wanted to hear, because we have young men who have made mistakes at a younger age. People wrote them off. And you had to, and the sad part about it, you said I had to keep proving myself to show people this is not me. And you
Mm-hmm.
did that, even though it took some time. It's sad that you have to do those things, but you did it because you were committed to what you had to do. But some
Mm-hmm.
young men don't know how to do that, to where they say, well, since you just called me bad, I'm going to be bad. Since you called me this problem child, I'm going to be this problem child. So they allow those words that are spoken over them to come to life. They perpetuate the stereotype. And so you did not perpetuate the stereotype to where you said, I'm going to show you this is not who I am. And this is what our young men need to see, especially those who are in underserved communities, how to come from making that mistake, a one-time mistake. As you say, you don't drink, you drink that one time celebrating. Hey, I don't drink. And I know that
Mm-hmm.
my tolerance level, if I drink a wine cooler, so messed up. So I
Mm-hmm.
can make that same mistake. But coming from that, and it's sad that your whole pattern, your whole past that you've had that was great gets erased from one mistake, and that shouldn't happen. But like I said, if you was in your 40s and 50s still doing this, I'm like,
It's a
come on,
problem,
man.
yeah.
Come on, man. But you have overcome it, and I really do appreciate you being transparent. I appreciate you sharing your life history with us, so that young men around the world, because I have followers not just here in Newton County. I have followers on my other pages that is almost 1 million reach that can hear your story. And so it's really important that they see you
Mm.
coming from this position, going here and then going back there, and you never allow your situation to hinder where you're going. So kudos to you. Kudos to you,
Thank
man.
you. Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
So now let's get to this event that we're going to have on March 16th, and you named it. Now we've been talking about it for a while, to do an event,
Mm-hmm.
and we were talking about the young men. We were trying to sit down on what the ages are, and we came up with the ages. And the reason why we hit those ages, for those who don't know, I'm going to give you some stats. Prisons, jails are built based on certain age groups in public school systems. So you have to reach these men and women at the ages to where they would normally get in trouble. And so we have to reach them at that point. And so, as Orson stated, that we're going to have the ages from 6th grade all the way to 12th grade, because we're trying to catch them and reach them where they are, where they can hear his story, to see how he came from various things, to say, I did come from a single family home, a single mother home, and I'm fine. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Builder.
Mm-hmm.
I got to have my builder license. I'm building buildings, and I'm building cathedrals. I'm speaking to your life. I'm building malls. I'm building whatever. So I'm
Amen.
doing
Amen.
these great and wonderful things, and I can overcome it. I can be whatever I say I'm going to be. Everything through God is possible. It's impossible,
Mm-hmm.
impossible through man. So it's really important. So tell me why you named it the locker room.
So
What you
I named it the locker room, and all the guys that play ball, they know that, hey, that's a safe place. That's when all the guys are gonna just form a group, sit there, talk. We're gonna stay for hours after practice. We're gonna get there early, just so we can just talk, hash it out, make sure we're on the same game plan. So I named it the locker room because I want to start creating a space where the kids feel safe, they feel heard, they feel seen, and we build that relationship with them, and they're reaffirmed. So that's everything that the locker room gave us as we played. And even when I left the game, that's the main thing that I missed, being around my boys, being in the locker room, having that camaraderie. So that's the same thing that I want to create for the youth and the kids, because that's important. Like I believe you told me y'all don't have a center for the kids in Newton County. Why is that? I remember when I was younger, we used to always go to La Petite or always go to the YMCA and just play around, and the old heads would, bring us on and play basketball. And that's what separated from the people that were successful and went to college and went to the next level, and the people that stayed on the street. So it's the same thing that I'm going to provide when we bring the locker room. Hey, tell me where you are. Let me hear you. Let me spend time with you. Let me build this relationship. And then tell me what you're going through. I'm no one to judge. I just told you my story. Now, let me educate you on just a better path. You may not know. You may not have anybody to tell you or spend time or just sit there and shut up and let you talk. You may not have that. So that's what the locker room is going to provide. That's what I intend on doing. And this is not going to be a one-time thing. Like I said, I'm going to come back every quarter to let them know that I'm serious about my work.
So tell us how Lululemon is, and I might be pronouncing it right. I know the brand, but I always mess the name up. Forgive me. But tell me how they are going to be a part of this and what they're going to be doing with you, because I know they're a part of you and what they're bringing to Newton County. We're excited about this.
Yeah, so Lululemon is sponsored my nonprofit because their main thing that they want to get out is the men's initiative. They want to get guys of color or just guys in general wearing Lululemon. Because let's be honest, every time you hear about Lululemon, you see the females wearing Lululemon.
Right.
When really, like, shoot, I love Lulu. Like, it's very comfortable, it's athleisure, and it lasts long. It has a policy that if you rip something, you can take it back. So I told them my vision. My wife and I created a vision and a mission statement. We told it, hey, this is what we're going to do in the community, and we're going to target the youth and the men. And it was like, you know what? We're on board. We love it because of your community work. And they actually have something, and we could talk offline. They actually have something where they get back to the community in that sector as well. So it's just everything aligns. When you're doing God work, everything always aligns.
That's right. That is awesome. So y'all hear what's going to happen on March 16th. You have to get registered. Parents, you have to register. The link is on my page. I will repost it again. It should also be in the chat as you see when you're watching us. You have to get your young men registered. If you are a mentor, if you're a teacher here in Newton County and the area, surrounding areas, you need to get your young men registered for this event. This is a once in a lifetime event. He's going to come back to Newton County to make sure that we have this for our men, our young men. You don't want to miss March 16th. It's going to be an exciting. So how should the young men show up on that day when they come? Just because, everybody wants to know about attire. What are you looking for them to do? Or what should they come prepared with on that day?
And to be honest, come as you are. Just like the pastor say at church, just come as you are. But then let's bring some shoes, because there'll be activity that I'll have y'all run around. Obviously, I'm a big component of mental health, so activity, be active. So bring a change of clothes, bring some shoes, but then just come as you are, and then we'll just go from there.
That is awesome. That is also for those who are definitely just tuning in. I am speaking to Orson Prince Charles. Get it right. And so he is coming to Newton County to sow a seed into our young men. All young men from 6th grade to 12th grade. You heard me speak about what he's done in the community. You heard me speak on all the pro teams he's played for in his foundation. But the great thing about it is he's coming to Newton County to sow a seed to our men to make sure that they become better men in society. And as he mentioned earlier about some of the things he went through to show you how to overcome those things, and that you are not written off. You are the only person that can write yourself off. And if you allow those things to be so, and he's going to speak some positive things into the lives of our young men. And I'm excited about what's going to happen. I'm excited about being a part of it. Although I said I'm a female, I can't raise a man. So it has to bring some men in to do it. Although women have been doing a great job, a woman raised you. But it's also great to have that positive male figure. There's certain things that I can't talk about when it comes to a man, that only a man can talk about those things. So is there anything else you would like to share with those who are tuned in with us this evening?
Commissioner, I would just like to say just thank you for being obedient. Thank you. I know you told me this, but thank you for walking in your purpose and not allowing the men or just the community to come against you. You're definitely blessed. Yeah, I definitely see the Holy Spirit movement in you. And I just love your passion. I love just being connected around you. And I love the work that you're doing in the community. So continue to keep it up. I thank you for allowing me to join your team. And I thank you for allowing us to just, like you said, sow that seed, because we understand that it's way bigger than that. So thank you for being selfless.
You are so welcome. For those who are tuning in, again, I'm talking to our pro athlete and mentor, Mr. Orson Prince Charles. Oh, wait, yeah. Yeah, I got it right. I was thinking of Prince Charles from Prince Charles and everything. I want to make sure I had it correctly. But Orson Prince Charles, put some respect on it. Let me get it right. Okay. A name is very important. A name is very important. So on March 16th, parents, if you are tuned in to the sound of our voices, you have to get your young men registered. If you are a mentee and you're hearing this, you want to make sure your mentor is registering you. If you are a mentor to have young men, you want to register your young men for this event, ages 6th grade all the way to 12th grade. On March 16th at Turner Lake. Turner Lake, we're going to have this event from 8:30 to about 3:30. And it's going to be a wonderful event where we're showing love to our young men in the community, mentoring, the locker room. Hopefully I can sit in the locker room for a few seconds, but it's not about me. I want to hear what's going on. But the women, any volunteers, women, we are volunteering on that day, whatever they need. I'm volunteering my time. If you want to volunteer, hit me up so I can make sure we can be a part of this, so we can make sure they have everything they need. We want this event to run smoothly. We want this event to come back to Newton County so that our men have something positive. And then hopefully we can get our young men out of Newton County. That has been a huge issue where a lot of our children have never been outside of the county. We have to stop that narrative. We have to change the narrative and make sure that our young men are becoming acclimated to various cultures and backgrounds and being able to be introduced to those various things. Our young women as well, our youth in general. That's the whole part. That's why I fight so hard for our young people here in New County. So Orson, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being the vessel that God has allowed you to be. Thank you for overcoming those obstacles and not allowing them. He said he would not put more on you than you can bear. So he knew that you can bear it and get through it and speak it and be a testimony. So thank you so much. Newton County appreciates you. I appreciate you, and all those who have been in your presence appreciate you and your spirit. So we will see you, everyone, on March 16th. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Commissioner Alana Sanders with Orson Prince Charles, and we'll see you on March 16th.